All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question, one that's shaped entire civilizations and probably haunted a few of our own dreams. What exactly is hell?
Seriously, think about it for a second. It's a question that has echoed through pretty much all of human history. It's shaped our art, our cultures, and, let's be honest, probably some of our deepest fears. So, for thousands and thousands of years, we've been telling these stories about what comes next. But where did they come from? The origins might actually surprise you. We're going to dig into where this whole idea of hell even started, what its purpose was, and get this, why we might just be biologically wired to believe in it in the first place. Okay, so our first stop on this tour, we're going to look at the blueprints. And here's the crazy thing. One of the most influential models for hell, it wasn't some ancient myth. Nope. It was a real physical place you could actually go to. Just look at this. It's such a fascinating contrast, isn't it? On one hand, you've got Gehenna, a real valley, a real place of fire and torment that was so awful it literally became the word for hell. And on the other, you have the Inferno, something that came entirely from a poet's imagination, but was so detailed and vivid that it basically became our cultural map of hell for centuries. So yeah, the whole concept didn't start as some abstract spiritual place. It was born from the collective trauma of a real valley just outside Jerusalem, the Valley of Hinnom, or Gehenna. I mean, this was a place where pagan rituals happened, including child sacrifice to a god named Moloch in huge burning pits. You can imagine how that image of real earthly torment just got seared into people's minds. It was so powerful that the place itself evolved into the concept of Gehenna, the foundation for an otherworldly punishment. Okay, flash forward a few centuries to the 1300s. An Italian poet named Dante Alighieri comes along and gives the Western world the vision of hell that has pretty much stuck with us ever since. And he wasn't just picturing some random fiery pit. Oh no, he created a whole bureaucracy of suffering, a meticulously organized nine-circle abyss where every single punishment was tailor-made for a specific sin. So we've got these incredible, detailed maps of the underworld. But so what? What's the point? Well, it turns out it all comes down to one thing: justice. But the real question is, what kind of justice are we talking about here? I mean, is hell a place you're stuck in forever, or is there a way out? This was a huge debate, and the answers people came up with, well, they tell you a whole lot about the values of the people who are imagining it. If you look at early Jewish thought, for example, the Talmud describes hell as, well, not really a final destination at all. It was more like a temporary process. Think of it less like a life sentence in a cosmic prison and more like a spiritual car wash. The Shammai school thought you'd go in, get purified, and come out clean. Rabbi Akiba even put a time limit on it, 12 months, tops. Dante, though, he took it in a totally different direction. He perfected this idea he called contrapasso, which is basically the punishment fits the crime, but in a really twisted, symbolic way. This is where hell becomes a place of perfect, almost poetic justice. For example, fortune tellers who spent their lives trying to see the future are forced to walk for eternity with their heads twisted on backward, so they can only ever see what's behind them. And that little detail, that idea of poetic justice, is so important, because it shows that for Dante, hell wasn't just a cosmic prison. It was more like a classroom, a really, really tough classroom. It was the first terrifying step in a much bigger journey, the journey to understand sin itself. See, the whole poem kicks off with the character of Dante lost in a dark wood, which is basically a metaphor for him having a midlife crisis. So his whole trip through the Inferno isn't just some tour of suffering. No, it's about him confronting the very nature of sin, head on, so he can figure out how to get back on the right path. And the thing is, he doesn't have to do it alone. His first guide is the ancient Roman poet Virgil, who's the voice of human wisdom and reason. But reason can only get you so far, right? To make it all the way to heaven, he needs Beatrice, his lost love, who represents divine love and beauty. The message is pretty clear. To get out of the darkness, you need both your head and your heart. And this is absolutely key. Dante's map includes purgatory. This is not hell. It's a kind of in-between place, a waiting room. An idea you actually see in other faiths, too. It's not about eternal punishment at all. In fact, it's a realm of hope. It's a mountain that souls have to climb to be purified before they can finally get into heaven. Okay, so we've seen how these ideas of hell got built, from a terrifying valley in the real world to an epic poem. But that leads to an even bigger question, doesn't it? Why?
Why do we invent these elaborate afterlives at all? What is it in us that seems to need to believe in something that comes next?
Well, if you look at it from an evolutionary point of view, you could argue that believing in some kind of cosmic justice system, with rewards and punishments, was actually a pretty powerful survival tool. Think about it. It helps a community cooperate, it sets up a shared moral code, and it gives answers when things seem totally random and scary. So, in a weird way, believing in hell might have actually helped us build better, stronger societies right here on Earth.
But of course, there's another way to look at it. The argument goes that as science gets better at explaining the world, explaining storms, disease, the stars, those gaps in our knowledge where we used to put God or the supernatural, well, they start getting smaller and smaller. Which leaves us with this really cool question about our own brains. Is this deep-seated need for cosmic justice a feature, something that helped us survive and thrive? Or is it a bug in our programming, a kind of leftover instinct from a different time that maybe we're slowly outgrowing? When you really look at it, it doesn't matter if you're talking about a real Valley of Fire, a poet's masterpiece, or some evolutionary instinct. What we imagine about the next world is always, always a reflection of this world. It's deeply tied to our values, our fears, and our hopes, right here and now. So, do our visions of the afterlife really tell us more about the next world, or about this one? They show us exactly what we think justice is. They show us our capacity for hope. And they reveal our profound, maybe even desperate, need for meaning. In the end, the story of hell isn't really a story about what happens when we die. It's a powerful story about who we are right now.